CJ Abrams is finally blossoming into a star. Should you still trade for Sandy Alcantara? Join us today where we provide you with the best players to trade for and away on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You could find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Adney, and you could find him on Twitter at Matthew_Adney. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And also, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below and subscribe to the channel. Also gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly, subscribe to us on the Subtext website. On Subtext, it's a one-on-one in-depth personalized experience through text messaging, and you get instant call-up alerts, injury alerts, and much, much more than we can offer here on this 30-minute podcast. Real quick, today's episode is brought to you by the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets and the lowest prices always guaranteed. Locked On Fantasy Baseball fans, we have a fully loaded episode for you today. As always, let us be your team secret weapon when we provide you with the best players to trade for and away heading into Week 16. And Matt, who do we have up first, my brother?
All right. Let's just, roll right into it. Let's talk about Mr. CJ Abrams. Abrams has been, killing it over the last month, honestly, with 20 runs, three bombs, 7 ribs, 12 stolen bases, batting about 321. I think he's really, caught his stride here in the league. I think he might be turning for the best. The kid was the number one prospect at some point last year, after O'Neal Cruz got the call and a few others. So, he was one of the key cogs also in that, Soto deal. So he does have a lot of upside and what his ceiling could be. Right now, he's showing it off. I think right now he's on pace for 20 home runs at the rate he's going. Probably about I would say 70 to 75 ribs. He could have, 80, 85 runs. And I mean, the stolen base potential could be limitless, truthfully. Right now he has 19, maybe, chops in another 2021, hits the 40 mark. I mean, I don't foresee Abrams really stepping up and being a power dude over his career, but at 6'2", if he puts on about another 20, 30 pounds, this kid's future could be really bright and could get his power numbers up. So Abrams just has a boatload of upside for this year. I really do like him since he's catching that stride. We're going to see something really strong from him in the second half, I have a feeling. So honestly, if you missed the window and we were telling you to go scoop him up the last 2 weeks, you might want to go and try and acquire him before, it goes and gets too hot and, you're not going to be able to get him at all. Because right now people are just saying, I got a really good waiver wire pickup. Maybe I can cash in. In another 2 weeks, people aren't going to say that anymore. They're going to be like, okay, I need to hang on to this kid. If I'm trading him away, I'm getting a haul. So this would be the last buy low window on CJ Abrams.
Yeah, Matt, great take. I really don't have too much to add besides, the young 22-year-old is just blossoming very, very well. He's been hitting leadoff of late. And the thing is that 256 batting average on the year is the thing that I think could still potentially get him in a trade. Might cost a little bit more than it did 2 weeks ago. But you know what? He still might even be available in something. 74% owned for CJ Abrams on Yahoo. I honestly think if he's out there in your league, must add. It's kind of like a pause the podcast moment. Go pick him up and see where things go. But Matt, you did a great job covering him. I really don't have too much to add. So I think let's just move on to our next guy, and it's Adley Rutschman. I mean, Adley's kind of had an up and down year. I kind of expected him to be a lot better, but he's still been serviceable. On the year, Adley's played 95 games, 48 runs, 17 doubles, 13 homers, 43 RBIs. He hasn't chipped in a steal yet, which is a little bit, interesting from my end. I love the walk to strikeout ratio with 60 walks to 66 strikeouts and the 269 batting average. I honestly think Adley's breakout year is probably going to be next year at this point. But if you could still acquire him in, Dynasty, because it's like, okay, Adley, 2 years in the bigs, last year 113 games, so 2 years in the bigs, a career 261 guy so far. 13 bombs last year, 13 bombs so far this year. If you can go out there and send a sneaky offer to the Adley Rutschman owner, I think you wind up with, a top 5 catcher over the next 10 years. He's been hitting second in that Baltimore lineup, which is, very, very explosive. And you know what? Even in redraft, he might take off here in the second half and show us why, Adley Rutschman is Adley Rutschman, former very, very high-end prospect. But you know what? He's just been all right. He hasn't been that, superstar yet that we've all, expected him to be over the last 14 days. 4 runs, 1 home run, 4 RBIs, 235 batting average. So, the Adley Rutschman owner might be a little bit, fed up with him. Maybe that owner got Henry Davis or another, one of these catchers on their roster where they could kind of just, okay, they have a little leeway there. So you might be able to go out and get Rutschman right now for a cheaper price than you normally would see when it comes to Adley.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, the way Adley started off the year, I really thought this was going to be the year.
Same.
But unfortunately dropped off. But I mean, hey, this kid has like Buster Posey prime kind of upside, if not a little bit better. So Adley Rutschman is somebody I definitely want to go and acquire in dynasty leagues, of course, but it's going to be a high price. But in redraft leagues, I'm still excited to go get him because he's better than most catchers out there anyway. There's really only about 3 catchers out there that are in even the top 100. Adley is in the top 200 and has upside to make his way bounce back and push his way into the top 100. I do like Adley Rutschman's upside for rest of season. It's just a matter of will that happen or will he fall off even more, which I don't foresee happening. So I say go acquire him now while you still can.
Yeah, Matt, and I love that Buster Posey comp. I really think that's a great comp for him for his going forward in his career.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move forward here. We're going to talk about Mr. Sandy Alcantara. So, as you all know, if you're a Sandy Alcantara owner, you are fatigued. You are like, should I drop this kid? And then the next moment he goes out, has 2 really good starts. He teases you a little bit, gives you a little blue, and and then boom, he gets completely blown up by St. Louis of all teams. So it's really just an up and down roller coaster. The one thing I will say is the strikeouts are there. He's getting about 5 to 6 to 7 Ks per game. So I like that. I think that, hey, he's going to figure it out, but it's just a matter of when. So right now, I think if you can go out there and acquire him for almost pennies, it may be worth just trying to see what happens. He's better than most of the guys you're going to be able to pick up off the waiver wires outside of the couple names we named yesterday. So if those guys aren't available and you can trade for Alcantara pretty cheap, maybe you're in a good spot. You just stream him against good matchups and then just pray that he starts stringing a bunch of games together, and then you have Alcantara back up to where he used to be.
Yeah, Matt. I've been kind of looking into Sandy here, and I really think it's the pitch mix. Honestly, he doesn't seem to be throwing his fastball as much as he did last year. And Sandy's got a great fastball, man. He sits around 98 consistently. It's just been interesting to me where he's kind of been, leaning into that changeup a bit more. His changeup is a solid pitch, but I'm not sure what he's doing here. It looks like he's just the pitch mix looks fairly different than it did last year. So I think that's kind of throwing him off. You never really see Sandy's whip this high. He's normally like a master when it comes to control. So, he's given up a few too many hits. He's given up a few too many walks. I can't really explain a lot of it besides maybe it's the pitch mix. Maybe I'm surprised they really didn't work with him during the All-Star break and, sit him down and look at that kind of stuff because, those 2 starts that you're speaking of, the one against Philly, 6.2 innings, 5 strikeouts, gave up a run, but the 1-2-0 whip, and then against Baltimore, 6 innings, 5 Ks, gave up a couple runs, and then the, whip was high again in the last start. Just kind of got smacked around by the Cards. Just, I don't know what's going on with Sandy. I think you can still buy low on him and get a mid to high 3s ERA guy. So if you can get him dirt cheap right now, I think you go for it and just kind of see where this thing goes with Sandy. But otherwise, might have to hold off until next year on Sandy. Sometimes pitchers just slump for a year-long thing. But before we get into a couple more guys here, talk about a Dodgers player that's starting to heat back up. And we got some guys that you could potentially sell high on. A Cubs player kind of bouncing back, taking the road by storm. And then a guy on our New York Yankees that's starting to play a little bit better. But real fast, have you ever tried to buy tickets to see your favorite artist or sports team and wound up being stressed out by how much of a hassle it can be? Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. That's why you need to check out the Gametime app. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Using the Gametime app is super rewarding with flash deals and last-minute tickets. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images and views from the seats you'll be sitting in. The lowest price guarantee and event cancellation protection. I mean, there's a reason it's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets and the lowest price is always guaranteed. And also, dear everydayers and new listeners, we have an incredible opportunity for you to support the show and enjoy some fantastic perks along the way. Introducing our Diamond Club on the Subtext website. By becoming a member, you not only contribute to the show's success, but you also gain access to exclusive benefits, get your hands on waiver wire rankings, call-up alerts, injury updates, and instant reactions. You also get to enjoy direct access to us for all of your burning fantasy questions. Plus, you can try it completely free for 14 days. Your support means the world to Matt and I. We can't wait to connect with you on this exciting journey. Join us on a Diamond Club on the Subtext website today, and let's take your fantasy baseball experience to new heights. And also, guys, we got a huge opportunity if you sign up for Subtext. Matt, what is over the next month or so? What are we doing?
End of August, we're going to announce the winner.
Yeah, so if you get to us before the end of August on Subtext, or if you're already a member on Subtext, you're going to be entered in an opportunity to join our listener league for next year, guys. You don't want to miss it. Come on and show Matt and I that you're better at fantasy baseball than us. It's a great opportunity to come and play with the pros. But all right, Matt, as we move on here, do you want to grab this next guy?
Sure, absolutely. Let's talk about Mr. Max Muncy. So you're all probably looking at me cross-eyed, like, why are we saying to go scoop him now? He's had a monster week. He's kind of bounced back, but it's only been 1 week. So, and honestly, I could see people being a little fatigued because, I mean, over the last month, he's had 18 runs, 6 bombs, 18 ribs, no stolen bases, of course, and 211. But this last week alone, he had 8 runs, 3 bombs, 10 ribs, and batting .231. Like, that's pretty much almost his whole month's production in a single week. So they're thinking they're going to sell high. You're actually buying kind of low because you're not going to have to give up what he'd be worth next week or the week after if he continues his hot streak. So you might want to consider throwing in those offers now and see if you can kind of scoop him up on the cheap side. You still got to give up a little bit, but I think one of these guys below, maybe 2 of these guys below, may be able to get the deal done for you. He has 2nd and 3rd eligibility, so I really do think that Max Muncy is going to hold a lot of value. And as long as this kid stays healthy, you're pretty much going to get gold from him. So Max Muncy is somebody I'm definitely trying to acquire in every league.
Yeah, Max Muncy is a career .230 hitter. The counting stats are going to be great for him on that Dodgers team. If you look at his stats compared to last year, he's only played 81 games so far, and he has 63 RBIs. Last year, in 136 games, he had 69 RBIs. Last year, in 136 games, had 21 homers. He's already got 24 in 81 games this year. So he's right on pace with all of, his counting stats. And then even the walk-to-strikeout ratio is not as bad as it normally is, 52 walks to 95 strikeouts. That's pretty solid. I think Max Muncy's going to, go on a little run here in the second half as long as he can stay healthy. But, knock on wood with that one because Muncy kind of is a little bit injury prone throughout his career. But as long as Muncy's healthy, you can, buy low on him at the moment. He's hitting 196 on the year. People are going to see that. Owners, might be a little bit fed up with him at this point. And at that second base, like Matt said, yeah, you can't really do much worse at this point. He's, in my opinion, probably a top 7 second baseman, maybe even a top 5 second baseman going in here into the second half. But let's move on here and talk about our last guy to, buy low on. And it's Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown, in his second full year, kind of, going through the motions here, kind of trying to figure things out. He's kind of been pretty mediocre since a hot start. His, last 2 starts haven't been great. One of them was at Coors, though, 5.1 innings, gave up quite a few runs, 7 strikeouts, a 1.13 whip. And then at Oakland, you kind of think he would go out, in Oakland and dominate. But 6 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts, a 1.33 whip. Not really digging on that. Brown on the year, 4.19 ERA, 1.32 whip, 105 innings, 122 strikeouts. So that's there. And I say this whenever I talk about Hunter Brown, kind of just like young Verlander type guy, has the same form as Verlander. You got to learn from Verlander, while Verlander was there on the Astros. And, Hunter Brown's only 24 years old. I think he has a lot of upside. His FIP, he's really pitching way over the FIP right now. Hunter Brown's FIP is a 3.62. If you're not familiar with FIP, it's fielding independent pitching. It's kind of an ERA indicator, shows you where, the ERA should trend towards. So I think he's going to do well in that perspective. And he's been pretty solid throughout his minor league career, especially that last year in the minors, 2.55 ERA, 106 innings, 134 strikeouts, and the whip was pretty solid, 2 out of 108. I think Hunter Brown kind of gets things on track, here in the second half.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the kid's got all the talent in the world. Great take, Dom.
Thank you, sir.
One thing I will say is sometimes we see a FIP and they kind of just either underperform or overperform it, for a full season. So, this could be the new norm for the rest of the year. So I wouldn't run out and go give up a lot, but the fatigue is real with Hunter Brown owners. I'm one of them. So, just see if you throw something light out there and see what you can get and catch a feeler. But let's move on, guys. Let's start talking about some sell high candidates. Again, this isn't guys we hate. This is guys we think that you can capitalize and get the most value out of these players. Now, for somebody that's a little bit more consistent and somebody that can be, help you through the playoffs, because now this is the time to consider it. So trying to acquire, a more sturdier player is key going into than some of these volatile guys we're going to have now. And let's kick it off with somebody that's been completely volatile this year, and that's Mr. Cody Bellinger. He's having a great season. Do not get me wrong. Like, Cody looks great. And if he gets traded to the Spankies or he gets traded to the Phillies, I think that Bellinger could step up and continue to provide solid fantasy contributes. But the problem is we don't know if he's going to get traded or if he's going to just stay on this team. We don't know if he's going to be able to keep this up, if he's going to get injured. There's a lot of possibilities that Cody Bellinger can see. I mean, the last month has been incredible, but let's see what happens. I mean, he lands on Philly, I'm pretty happy. He lands on the Spankies, I'm pretty happy. But I don't know if he goes to like St. Louis, if he goes to, I don't know, Dom, throw a team out that you think Bellinger might go that isn't that.
I honestly think even if he stays put, if the Cubs decide not to do anything, if the Cubs don't get the right offer and he just stays where he is, it's just not a great outlook. If you want to talk about another team that he could wind up on that I don't think is a super great landing spot for him, potentially the Mets. If the Mets go out there and get him, I don't know, how his swing is going to look over there. I don't know if he really pans out. The Mets haven't been playing great in general. And then the thing, even if he does get traded, as we always say, you're going over to a new team, especially in the middle of the season, isn't an easy thing to do. Uplift yourself, your whole family. You got to move. You got to get, used to a whole new coaching staff, teammates, and all that stuff. So I don't know with Bellinger, but continue, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, he could even end up in Miami in a terrible position for a field too, and it's harder to get the ball over those fences. So between that, like all these possibilities, we just don't know. So right now, sell high before anything happens. We're like, oh, there's still that he could get traded to these two teams and mention that and use that as a leverage tool to get a bigger player. So Cody Bellinger is somebody that I really feel you need to sell high. And before we move on, and I let you hear Dom's side of the story, I want to let you know about a couple guys that are coming up. Player from the Yankees that you 100% need to sell high before he gets hurt again. A pitcher that we've been really highly touting all year, but I think it's time to sell high. And a pitcher that from the Orioles that I feel probably should be sold high before the bottom falls out. So stay tuned. All right, and we're back. Dom, go ahead.
Yeah, so with Cody Bellinger, as Matt mentioned, he's having a great bounce back year, even comeback player of the year candidate, especially when it comes to fantasy baseball. But you know what? The underlying stats are really what concern me. He's not hitting the ball hard at all. He's really in the bottom tier of all MLB players as far as how hard he hits the ball, exit velocity, all that stuff, barrels, all those, advanced stats that I'm not going to sit here and bore you with. But bottom line, he's not hitting the ball hard. That usually doesn't, pan out well for guys. The 319 batting average, I don't think that's sticky. He's a career 255 guy. He's hitting way over his head right now. The speed's legit. He's quick for a big dude. I think the steals are real. Home runs, I would think 14 over 68 games is actually a pretty solid pace. I think he could keep that up. But then the whole thing is the landing spot. I think the counting stats are over his head. I think the 53 runs is over his head. I think the 44 RBI is over his head. As Matt said, he goes to a contender. That thing could change in a heartbeat. But right now, you can get such high value for Cody Bellinger's name. It's not that we hate him, as Matt mentioned. This whole segment right here, selling high, is literally what it's, not candy coat anything, sell high. Get the most value you can out of these players until they start to underperform again. Even if Cody Bellinger underperforms, I mean, you still make out if you can go out there and get somebody that is going to bounce back. Like if you can go out there and get Sandy straight up for him, I might do that. If you can get, an Adley and maybe another little piece, I would do that. Muncy and maybe you get yourself another little piece, I would do that because you're kind of just maximizing your value there. But let's move on to the next guy. And honestly, I think Matt said it great. It's Giancarlo Stanton of the Yankees. Sell before he gets hurt again or, the bottom falls out. Stanton does this consistently every single year. He has, a month or so where he looks like, best player in baseball. And then he just goes back to being regular Giancarlo Stanton, either hurt or kind of just striking out way too much. Even over the last 30 days, the numbers aren't as spectacular as you might think. Counting stats look good with 12 runs, 7 homers, 20 RBIs, but he's only hitting 238 over that time. But you know what? Somebody, if anyone's been playing baseball, fantasy baseball, or just watching baseball over the last, 5-10 years, how good Giancarlo is. You say, 7 home runs over the last 30 days. He's been super hot, a bunch of 2-hit games. Judge will be back soon. I think you just get out before the other shoe falls off with Stanton, talk them into the trade the best you can, go out there and capitalize, pretty much everybody that we talked about in the first half, I would take over Stanton. Maybe Hunter Brown's a little bit iffy, but you know what? If I can get, like I said, Max Muncy and a little something for Stanton, I would do it. I would definitely try and acquire CJ Abrams because second base is so tough and the speed, is elite with Abrams. So is the batting average. And even Sandy or Rutschman too. I would kind of take them over Stan at this point. So sell on Giancarlo.
Absolutely great take, Dom. I don't even need to add anything there, sir. I'm going to move on. We're talking about Mr. Andrew Abbott. Abbott has been phenomenal since he got called up. Dom called it, hit the nail right on the head. With this kid, he's been absolutely electric through 32 innings pitched. In the last month, he has 2 wins, 35 Ks, a 2.81 ERA, a 2.10 ERA on the season, with 57 Ks to 55 innings pitched, with a sub-1 whip on the season and pretty much a sub-1 whip on the month, week, and last 2 weeks. The kid just doesn't walk anybody. But here's the thing. He's still rookie. He still, pitches in Great American Hitter Park every single, week. So, Abbott still has the upside to get blown up, still has an opportunity to get his home run, give up more home runs. So I'd rather move on to somebody that's done it before and see where that will take me. Now, Andrew Abbott, I might be able to I'm probably not going to trade him for the arms that are here on this list for, buy low. I'd probably try and, go and scoop up maybe like a Logan Gilbert. That's not on this name list right now since he just got hit up pretty bad and he's been pretty much up and down. Maybe even go get a Joe Ryan that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, a bigger name, somebody that's going to get it done. But if I'm trying to go scoop up like a higher end bat, I'd package him and I'd try and get like an Adley Rutschman or, Max Muncy and something. I mean, you can get a lot for Andrew Abbott essentially. And I feel like, you might be able to turn around and really see what kind of picks you really want to get. So Andrew Abbott, I think, is a 100% sell high because come playoff time, I don't know where his production is going to be.
Yeah, Matt, great take. And same things go for, innings. I don't know how many innings they're going to let Abbott throw. Last year, he threw 118, and this year, combined with the minors and the majors, he's already up at over 100 right now. So I don't know how far they're going to let Abbott go. We might see a Yuri Perez situation where he gets sent down, his innings get managed for a little bit. And then the thing is, Abbott's just not going to be this good. I mean, he's still probably going to be very good, but he's not going to be 2.10 ERA and 0.91 whip good the rest of the way. As much as I love the kid and believe in him, it's just not going to happen. He kind of reminds me of like a lefty version of like Kyle Hendricks, where the fastball isn't great, but the breaking stuff is so good that the fastball plays up. He has he has a really, really good curveball, a lot of spin on that curveball. And it kind of, like I said, makes that fastball play up a bit because he only throws about 93, but the curveball's about 80 with good spin. So that, like I said, makes it play up. He's got a pretty good pitch mix. But once again, I don't know how the future looks for the rest of Abbott this year. And as Matt, I love the Great American Hitter Park. I love that one. So instead of saying Great American Small Park, I'm going to say Great American Hitter Park. Like Matt, Abbott gives up a lot of fly balls, and that's not the park you want to do that in. But, sell high. Get what you can for Abbott right now before, those numbers start to creep up. But let's move on to this next guy. And this guy, I'm selling way. I'm trying to get rid of him before I get rid of Abbott. It's Kyle Bradish. Bradish. It is Bradish. So, Bradish is just having a, nice big breakout year with a 3.05 ERA, 97 innings, 92 Ks, a 1.13 whip. 26 years old. So, there is the potential that it is his breakout year, but he's never really been like a monster in the minor leagues. So I don't know, where this is coming from all of a sudden. I think, even the FIP is actually pretty good at a 3.52. But you know what? I'm not fully buying into the breakout. I think, the AL East is a tough division to pitch in as it is. And then if the Yankees get Judge back and they start to come around again, you got to pitch against that team, those AL East teams a lot. But you know what? The kid's been very, very good. So I think you can go out there and you can get a lot for him, just based on the stats. Honestly, over the last, 7 starts, he's been spectacular. So, go and get what you can for Kyle Bradish. Jesus Christ, I'm all over the place with that last name.
Yeah, the Radish. That's what we're going to go with.
There you go.
But no, great take, Dom. I don't think we need to go any further on him. Let's just go with this last guy here, Mr. Jose Berrios. If you guys have been following this show long enough, you're going to know that Dom and I hate this guy more than we hate Jose Altuve.
That was good.
Because quite honestly, this dude is the biggest tease in all of fantasy baseball because, when he had his early career, we really thought he was going to break out and do this thing, and he did. But then he absolutely pooped in his big boy pants for the rest of his career outside of 2 years. So Berrios, I feel, this is what we call fool's gold and a half, right? This is the one where, pretty much I painted a rock with gold paint. And I called it gold, and they said, give me 32 cents a pound. That just ain't going to fly here. So I feel Jose Berrios, you need to get rid of now because he's pitching way above par with 119 innings pitched, 8 wins, 114 Ks, and a 3.39 ERA. Now, Berrios isn't that pitcher anymore. I'm sorry. I'm just pulling up his, FIP real quick because my guy just isn't 382, yes.
382.
So, right now you could clearly see he's pitching above board. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if at some point he just falls off a cliff, right off to the sunset and blow up your fantasy roster in the playoffs. So, I say we sell high on him now. I don't know exactly what you're going to be able to get for him. Maybe you can go and trade him for Hunter Brown or even Sandy Alcantara. And if you could sneak out either one of those, I'd rather have them with the underperformance than just riding out the Berrios wave. And then come playoff time, I couldn't move him. And then either one of those guys that bounce back or outperforming him by a mile. So I would sell Jose Berrios immediately.
Yeah, Matt, you already know I'm on board with you with this one. I honestly think there's probably leagues right now where you could trade Berrios in like a closer and get you Sandy Alcantara, and I think that's the move right now. Matt, you did a good breakdown on him, but I'm just going to add Berrios is a career 4.15 ERA guy, over 1,100 innings. That kind of just speaks to the pitcher that he is. He didn't figure it out at 29 years old. I'm sorry to say it. The ERA is going to be a lot closer to where the FIP is, high threes, low fours. He's not a K per 9 guy. The whip is going to, bounce up a little bit too. He's a career 1.24 whip guy. So sell high on Berrios, get what you can for him before the other shoe falls off, as my brother Matt said. But guys, that is all for us for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Also, thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Shout out to our everydayers and listeners. We appreciate you guys, getting us to where we are. It's truly, truly appreciated. But make sure you're on the lookout for a new episode tomorrow. We provide you with the best players to stash on your watch list and IL. But guys, until then, see you.
Peace.